In juli 2017 heb ik de Muur van Hadrianus in Noord-Engeland gelopen. Een ongelooflijk mooie ervaring van 125 kilometer langs de grens van het Romeinse Rijk. Ik heb dagelijks verslag gedaan van deze ontdekkingsreis en deze vlogs zijn terug te vinden op de website romeinsekust.nl en op het Hazenberg Archeologie YouTube kanaal. Maar de reis was rijker dan die vlogs konden vertellen. Dit is de eerste van een reeks toegiften waarin ik een thema, vondst of locatie nader beschouw. Vandaag is dat de tentoonstelling Hadrian's Wall Cavalry, die in 10 musea en bezoekerscentrum langs de muur tegelijkertijd loopt, nog tot 10 september 2017. Tijdens mijn reis heb ik dan ook bijna alle deelexposities gezien. In mijn dagelijkse vlogs heb ik daar ook regelmatig melding van gemaakt. Maar toen ik op de terugweg naar de ferry nog 1 keer naar de Great North Museum ging, liep ik daar verdorie Nigel Mills tegen het lijf. En Nigel Mills is een Engelse collega die zich al jaren inzet om de Muur van Hadrianus als een samenhangend wereldmonument te presenteren. Hij heeft aan de wieg gestaan van het Interpretation Framework voor de muur. Dat is een instrument om de aparte forten en muurdelen zo te presenteren dat de bezoeker niet alleen bijvoorbeeld het bezochte fort begrijpt, maar ook doorheeft dat het onderdeel uitmaakt van een groter systeem. Daarbij is Nigel een pleitbezorger van het gedachtegoed van UNESCO, door het erfgoed, de Romeinse muurresten zelf, te laten bijdragen aan een beter begrip en verdraagzaamheid tussen volkeren. Die Nigel Mills liep ik tegen het lijf, toen hij in de Great North een bezoekersgroep inwijdde in de mysterieën van de muur. Die gelegenheid moest ik wel aangrijpen om hem te bevragen over de tentoonstelling Hadrian's Cavalry. Hij is immers de drijvende kracht achter dit gezamenlijke project.
So welcome to the Hadrian's Cavalry exhibition, and we're very pleased to welcome you to see these magnificent helmets on display here. This is the first time that these two examples of a Ribchester style helmet have been brought together, and we have here on the right hand side, as we're looking at it, a helmet on loan from the British Museum, and a second helmet in similar style here, which is from a private collection. And this particular case is intended to show the power and splendour of the Roman cavalrymen, particularly represented by the magnificent decoration. And if you can imagine these helmets gilded and bronzed in their original state, they would have inspired shock and awe amongst the barbarian tribesmen that they were confronting. This is one museum of the 10 museums across Hadrian's Wall which are part of the Hadrian's Cavalry exhibition, which is unique in that it has brought together 6 different partner organisations to jointly manage this exhibition across the whole of Hadrian's Wall to celebrate the cavalry regiments which form the backbone of the military garrison across Hadrian's Wall.
Which musea are part of this exhibition?
The museums that are part of the exhibition running from east to west are Arbea, Segedunum, the Great North Museum, Hancock, Corbridge, Chester's, Vindelander, Housesteads, Tully House, the Roman Army Museum and Senhouse Museum. The only museum of the 11 museums across Hadrian's Wall that isn't part of the exhibition is Bad Oswald, for the simple reason that during the period of the exhibition that particular museum has been closed for refurbishment. The whole idea of the exhibition is to celebrate these cavalry regiments because most people have the impression that it was infantry soldiers who were garrisoned along Hadrian's Wall. That's absolutely not the case. Most of the forts along Hadrian's Wall were garrisoned by part infantry, part cavalry regiments, and at the key locations across the wall, in Carlisle, at the Chesters and at Benwell, where there were major roads crossing the wall heading up to the north, you had complete ala, that's a cavalry regiment with no infantry soldiers, and at Lugavalium, which is the fort at Stanix rather, which is the fort just north of Carlisle itself, you had a complete Ala, a miliary Ala, that's 1,000-strong Ala, the Ala Petriana from Gaul, and there were only 7 of those miliary units across the empire, all in key locations at the provinces, which gives you an indication of the importance of the cavalry units to managing the garrisons, to managing the frontier.
Is Stanix also a kind of headquarters of the Hadrian's Wall?
We strongly suspect that Stanix and Carlisle was the base for the commander across Hadrian's Wall. We haven't got clear evidence of that, but we do have evidence of, I think, the governor visiting Carlisle. And Carlisle was the only urban centre on Hadrian's Wall. It was also a major communication centre because you had there not only the supplies coming along the coast up to Maryport and then to Carlisle, but you had the major communications route heading down, joining the Deer Street at Catterick.
And in the exhibition I saw that in every separate museum you got different aspect of the army. I saw the horse, I saw the training, I saw the...
Each museum of the 10 museums has a different part of the exhibition. It's a dispersed exhibition, so the idea is that each display tells a different part of the story. There are 2 anchor displays, which are big exhibitions which look at the wider picture of Hadrian's cavalry, of the cavalry regiments. One of those is at Segedunum in Wallsend, and that museum is looking in particular at the recruitment and training of the soldiers and where they came from across the empire, and the particular tactics that they would have used in battle, and the sorts of equipment that they used. It also explores the link, for instance, between the cavalry regiments and particular areas, particularly, for instance, the Batavians from the Netherlands, and looks at their role within the Imperial Horse Guards, and also the fact that it was they who were stationed, the 9th cohort of Batavians was stationed at Vindolanda and gave us many of the Vindolanda writing tablets. The other anchor exhibition is at Tully House in Carlisle, where we're particularly focusing on the role of the cavalry regiments in the frontier system. And that is not just about providing communications and quick responses to things. It's all to potential attacks and so on. It is also very much about projecting imperial power. You don't have helmets like this simply for defensive purposes. These are to project the whole idea of the splendour and power of Rome to any native populations. And if you look at maps of the distribution of finds of these types of helmets, then you will find them very much concentrated across the lines of the frontiers. You only have to think on the continent of the finds that we've got from Nijmegen, but also in Straubing and Passau along the Danube and in other locations. An amazing concentration of these types of equipment. So it's very much, the frontier is as much about projecting imperial power as it is for defensive purposes. The other museums then pick up on particular aspects of the cavalry story, so that at Chester's and Corbridge, for instance, we're focusing on the horses, and the same thing to a lesser extent at Vindolanda, because the horses themselves were as finely decorated and equipped as the cavalry troopers. You have these magnificent chamfrons which cover and protect the heads of the horses, and again, like the helmets, you find a concentration of these chamfrons in the frontier locations when you have a look at a distribution map. You then have at Arbea, we're looking particularly at the archaeological evidence for cavalry and their role on the frontier. That includes examples of armour and helmets that are actually being found in excavations at Arbea. At the Roman Army Museum, we're looking particularly at the Roman trooper and his equipment, but also some of the equipment of the horses, and we have a reconstruction there of a Roman cavalryman in full charge. At the Senhouse Roman Museum, the exhibition there is focusing on the goddess Epona, which was the goddess who protected the horses, and that is particularly because at Maryport we have this absolutely magnificent collection of altars, and so it's very much related to the religious and mythical aspects of Rome.
En Nigel ging weer door met zijn groep. En vroeg me nog wel om mijn volgers van deze fantastische tentoonstelling langs de hele muur van Hadrianus op de hoogte te brengen. Jullie begrijpen dat ik dat niet kan weigeren. En ook niet wil, want het is een mooie tentoonstelling en nog een reden om de ontdekkingstocht langs de muur van Hadrianus te ondernemen. Helemaal of gewoon de hoogtepunten rondom Houstedt en Vindolanda. Dan val je vanzelf in de handen van de Cavalry van Hadrianus. Deze unieke tentoonstelling duurt nog tot zondag 10 december.